Welcome to another episode of the Anonymous Investors Podcast. We have me, right, the Almighty, all powerful, all knowing God, and we have Stockman to my left. How are you doing today, Stockman?
What up? What up, pimps? Another beautiful day in the neighborhood. A lot of shit going on, a lot of stonks, a lot of news.
Did you hear about Biden basically forgiving $5.8 billion in student debt? This is the biggest reprisal of, or basically elimination of student debt in U.S. history. And he basically eliminated student debt from students that went to Corinthian. He basically went to Corinthian colleges. Corinthian colleges were basically this incorporation that was founded in like the 90s, I believe, like the mid 90s, around 1995, and it included basically 105 different schools, and they had like 100,000 plus students in their colleges, and they basically were sued by the students and accused of fraud once students wanted to transfer from the school, and no school across the country would accept the transfer credits because they basically weren't accredited by the proper accreditation parties. And so basically, Biden felt bad for all these people that got screwed from going to these colleges, and he decided to eliminate student loan debt from them. But here's the thing, though: who's paying for the student loan debt that he basically discharged? I know you might feel bad for these people that got defrauded. They weren't able to transfer their credits. They're not able to use the skills they learned to get a job. But ultimately, it's going to come up to the people in society to pay for these people's shortcomings in evaluating what college to go to. They didn't look at the accreditation when they chose the college. They didn't look at teachers that taught at the college, and they didn't do their proper research. So why should everybody else in the country pay for their mistakes? And I think that's a big mistake. You have all these people that have student loan debt, and that basically all these people that paid off their student loan debt, and now you're giving these people a free ride for their student loan debt. Meanwhile, they're just idiots who made a mistake. And this is the thing with politicians. They want to keep giving out freebies all the time, and they should look at what the majority of Americans want, and give that to them instead of basically shooting these minority parties, these outspoken minority individuals. What do you think about basically Joe Biden forgiving student loan debt and doing it in this creative way, so that basically there wasn't as much of a backlash as there would be if you basically just forgiven student loan debt um, normally?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting situation. I think it's a really clever way to like walk people or to like ease people into slowly accepting like a blanket universal like student loan forgiveness program. Um, I'm very interested though in that whole situation with the accredited, what is it like, these universities, they weren't accredited, right? So like did people not know, or like did they not do their homework? You said these universities were prevalent in the 90s, right? So like how did this become a thing? Like how did any of these schools even blow up if they weren't accredited, and how did people like fall victim to this type of thing? Like that's what I don't understand. But as far as like forgiving it, I think it's silly because the taxpayer is the one to foot the bill. And I mean, really, the whole thing is kind of weird, right? Because I think we spoke about this previously, but like I always felt that like student loan debt should be able to be dischargeable, I guess I'd say. And the reason for that is it would tighten like funding criteria, so you wouldn't have people getting loans to study like, I don't know, what does Ben Shapiro say, like lesbian dance theory or something like that, some funny thing. Or Dave Ramsey says left-handed puppetry. That's my favorite of the ones that I hear these guys say as examples. But yeah, I mean, like it would just tighten lending criteria. But as far as these people, it's such a weird situation because it's like they said 560,000 borrowers accounted for 5.8 billion in Corinthian college student loans. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just an odd situation.
How about
I
this? I'll
don't
give you.
think that the taxpayer should foot the bill, but then at the same time, I feel bad because they got kind of screwed because these colleges don't have the same accreditation status as like, you know, a well-known or like prestigious university, and with that comes, you know, missing out on like valuable skills. But I honestly, at this point in time, you're gonna laugh, you're gonna love this. I think they shouldn't forgive those loans, and I think they should just call it a stupid tax. It's like, are you stupid? Yes, then pay for this. Like honestly, it's just a stupid tax.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. They're the ones that took out the debt, and they should be responsible for it. And I'll give you one better. Why doesn't the government just get out of the business of loans altogether? They're propping up loans. They're giving people out loans, and they're allowing colleges to artificially inflate their price of the school because they're backstopping these loans, and they're giving people access to capital that they wouldn't have if they didn't have these loans. Then basically, there wouldn't be as much access to capital, and these colleges would have to lower their prices in order to meet the demand for U.S. education. The government thinks they're doing a good thing, like, oh, let everybody go to school, let everybody go to school, give them money, give them money. But no, there's a basic supply and demand dynamic, supply and demand, yeah, supply and demand like ratio, and they're causing the supply of capital to be totally out of whack with the demand, causing the colleges to basically rake in money at the expense of the taxpayers.
Right, and it's such a great example, right? Like, let's say I was going to loan you money, and I was going to loan you $100,000, right? And maybe most people would say, "Oh, you know, God, I don't know about him. I'm not going to loan him $100,000, right?" But I might say, "Oh, fuck it, I'll loan him 100,000." You know why? Because his dad's Mark Cuban, or his dad's some like billionaire dude, right? So I know that the collateral is someone who has like exponentially more money, or in this case, the government, where they pretty much have access to printing money and just creating monetary policy or fiscal policy to just continuously loop this process. Now, take that exact scenario and extrapolate it, 10 million times, 20 million times. And that's exactly what's going on with like the whole student loan thing. So it's just such a shady business too. Like if you look at the salaries of, and if you haven't looked at this, you should look at it. But if you haven't looked at like the salaries of like the top admins at the school, and by that I mean administrators or like the people on the board or like the vice provost and the presidents of universities, they make fucking stupid money. I think the president of Harvard makes like 10 million a year or something like that. I could be completely wrong. It's like 5 or 10 million, some like crazy number. And it's just like, dude, you don't do anything. Like literally the faculty, like the heads of each respective like department, they kind of run shit. And he's just chilling at the top, like collecting the check. It's just like, okay, dude, the whole thing is just kind of shady. A lot of shadiness with that, with college. But I know that there's a whole bunch of stuff with that we could go on forever about. But, and on that same line of talking about shadiness with loans, so I don't know if you remember this, the good folks over at Wells Fargo. Dude, Wells Fargo is just the gift that keeps on giving. Like, I'm not even kidding you. So Wells Fargo got caught because they were hosting, allegedly, of course. It's all alleged. It's all alleged. It's all alleged. Wells Fargo don't come from my ass, right? But supposedly Wells Fargo got caught hosting fake interviews for minority candidates and women. So they knew that they weren't going to hire these people, but so they hit like quotas, and they kind of insulate themselves from having any type of lawsuit from a minority group. And by minority group in this case, I'm talking about like a racial minority or ethnic minority or women. To insulate themselves, they would host these like fake interviews, and they got caught, and the whole thing was blown. I think it was a whistleblower who reported to like the New York Post and a few different other outlets, and it just seems like another scandal has hit Wells Fargo. And I got to be honest, at this stage of the game, I'm not surprised. Like, to me, the Wells Fargo brand went from being like very wholesome and like folksy, and it seemed that Buffett kind of was the same way for a while, and he's since distanced himself because he realized that they're not what they portrayed themselves to be for many years, in both, lending, and we saw they had that fine that they paid for churning accounts, and I think John Stumpf was the CEO at the time. He had to step down, and there's a whole lot of scandals and controversies going on with that. But it just seems that everywhere this company goes, there's just another scandal around the corner. It's fucking unbelievable. And especially in the banking sector where people already, like the general public already can't stand banks. It's like you literally could just like fucking sneeze the wrong way and everyone's going to have a fit, especially after '08, dude. No one trusts banks in America anymore, and they're just adding more fuel to the fire. It's pretty remarkable.
Well, I mean, why should anybody trust banks? These banks they constantly get into scandals. They constantly getting fined. If you look at another bank, Deutsche Bank recently got fined for greenwashing their funds. So basically, certain investors or whatever they want to invest in these like economically friendly companies and etc. So like these banks will they'll raise funds to basically invest in these economically friendly securities. And basically, Deutsche Bank was basically they had these funds. They said that they were like economically friendly. Uh, it was an economically friendly fund, but they basically weren't investing in these economically friendly companies. So they got in trouble with that, and they got raided in Frankfurt. Basically, the German police went and raided their headquarters. And then you with Goldman Sachs, you saw that as well with 1MDMB with that guy
That was the Malaysia
Lau.
fund, right?
Yeah, how the guy was like
Okay.
laundering money from Malaysia through Goldman Sachs. So you see these banks, they're always getting into these scandals, and they basically getting fined is just the cost of business for them.
And the Deutsche Bank thing that you're referring to, is that like an ESG designation? That's the environmental social governance identification that companies are being aligned with right now. Is that what that is? ESG?
Yeah, they basically had to invest in a into ESG companies. So basically it's easier to raise money if you say you're starting a hedge fund or whatever, or some kind of like you're trying to raise like capital. It's easier to raise money if you say you're basically investing in economically uh, friendly things. Basically, people want to deploy their money in economically friendly things. Like BlackRock will refuse to invest in companies that have carbon or whatever. They won't invest in things that are not economically friendly. So there's like a limited access to capital. So if you're able to lie and basically greenwash your funds and say, oh, they're economically friendly when they're not, then you could get the benefit of being economically friendly without giving up the upside of basically returns.
Okay, that makes sense. So they lied and they said that they were investing in ESG companies, and the German police raided them and found that they weren't, obviously, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what they were
Okay,
doing.
but here's what I have to ask you. And we did talk about this a little bit with, and this was in a prior episode. I recommend you go back and listen to this. But um for ESG companies, right? Like, do we put a lot of faith in the people who review and implement that designation? In other words, do we think that a lot of the, like, I'll give you a great example. Like ExxonMobil, for whatever fucking reason, is in like an ESG index, right? And to me, ESG, I think of a company that's doing well profitability wise, I should say, but also not like, I don't know, dumping oil into the fucking environment, like, or like causing oil spills and stuff like that. So I'm kind of looking at it and I'm like kind of looking at it sideways. It's like, isn't ExxonMobil in the ESG index for the S&P 500, but Tesla isn't? Like, how does that work?
It's basically all a fraud. If you look at even consumer reports and how they basically rank like the safety of cars or whatever, they're basically corrupted by advertising and basically advertisement. So like since Tesla doesn't advertise, they gave Tesla basically an F on their consumer report score. Meanwhile, Tesla is the safest car because it has self driving and it basically saves lives. Meanwhile, they put out like, oh, Tesla self driving accident, causes a death, but they don't look at the millions of times that it saved somebody that was maybe drunk or saved somebody that from committing an accident who's not a good driver. And that's the problem. You don't know you don't know the times that you saved people, but you know the times that it got into the crash. So I think it's all basically a fraud.
So basically, if you're not in line with the agenda and in line with the narrative being pushed, they're going to use that score and hold it over your head. So I'm getting into like super hypotheticals now, right? But hypothetically, right? What would happen if you, oh, let me look at it this way. This is what I think, and I might be a little kooky thinking this, right? But who's to say? Like, it's such a subjective thing, ESG, right? It's not like a fundamental analysis, like ratio. There's no sort of like empirical data to it. It's just someone there or a group of people, a collective sitting there and going, we're going to give you an A or we're going to give you an F or somewhere in between that range, right? So it just seems like a really subjective way to like grade companies and to like manipulate their stock. Like for publicly traded companies anyway, that is. Like it doesn't look like it's anything more than that. Like how do you rate a company's ability? Think about that. How do you rate a company's ability to like to be either like carbon neutral or do positive things for the environment and like quantify that? Like I don't understand that. How do you quantify how much waste you don't emit? Like that makes no sense to me at all.
Yeah, I think we're in the early days of this. I think the SEC should provide more guidance to basically how this disclosure should be done. And these carbon credits, where these companies are buying carbon credits from basically rainforest in like the Amazon or whatever, that's all bullshit because they basically polluting the environment, and then they buy these carbon credits, and there's basically no auditing to see how many times these carbon credits were sold. They could have been sold 10, 15, 20 times. So are you really offsetting your pollution? No, there's basically an overselling of carbon credits duplicated 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 times. So this is all like, we're early on in the process, and we need a lot more guidance on basically how do we keep track of these carbon credits? How do we make sure they're not being duplicated? How do we make sure that these ESG requirements are basically standard across the industry, and because you need standard requirements, you can't just have a subjective score that doesn't make any sense. Because as you said, you saw ExxonMobil, on the ESG list. Meanwhile, Tesla, the most eco-friendly company there is, not on the list.
Yeah, and you brought up the Amazon, right? The Amazon rainforest, and I don't know if you saw this, but people they go like to go to South America, they go to the Amazon, right? On vacation. I guess people do that a lot, right? That's like kind of a thing, like nice tropical environment. But I don't know if you saw this, but it recently came out that there was a report that came out. Quite a few news outlets were saying that if you post on social media, you could invalidate your homeowner insurance, which I found fascinating, right? Because literally you go on Instagram or whatever, especially in the summer, and like you go on stories or like you go on, whatever, the normal post on Instagram, and you're scrolling through it and you just see people like posting, "Hey, I'm in fucking Guatemala. Hey, I'm in Italy, wherever. Hey, I'm in Florida." And people are just posting constantly that like they're away. So homeowners insurance, they actually look at that and they're like, "Oh, Jimbo Smith, he's posting that he's in Florida, but he has a house in New York." So now everyone that lives in New York that knows him and knows where he lives knows that he's not home. So they know now is like a good time to rob him. So it invalidates your insurance. That's some fucking like next level fucking thinking for the insurance providers, especially because I feel like people are so stupid to like tell people. I mean, you're basically all social media is, and I don't care what anyone says. People can argue with me all day, but all social media is like I think it's the government funding a way or funding companies and figuring out a way to get people to like willingly give up their information and making it socially unacceptable for people that don't do so. I think that's what it is. And I think it's just, as Snowden said, it's just social media companies are just surveillance companies that found like a clever way to rebrand. And I think when he said that, I was like, that's it. Like he hit the fucking nail on the head. And I just find it funny how I mean, people are just so willing to like give up all this information to go as far as to show people for really brownie points, right? Like social points, whether that's in the form of like engagement on a post or like someone slides up on the story and responds or like whatever to show your friends and family. It's like people are willingly going out of their way to like put their possessions or put their family or like put their community at risk just for like the social validation. I find that to be so bizarre. It just shows how weird the world is now, right?
Yeah, I mean, you just called out all the sheeple in the world. You just called them out, calling out all the sheeple. But
Well, it's like the great Little Uzi Vert says, you know, modern day philosopher. He has a song and it's called "Erase Your Social." And in the song, if you read between the lines, he's saying that he only has social media because he's like a big time like famous rapper, and he needs it for promo. And he says that if he was just a regular person, he wouldn't be on it. So he says the whole point of the song is he says erase your social, like don't even bother with social media. And he's right. And there's a whole lot of other people who are like famous or popular or whatever, and they've gone as far as like outsourcing control of their social media and just handing all of it over to PR people, and then just kind of telling them like, yeah, I guess you could put that up. Like that would be cool to put up to show everyone or whatever. And they like distance themselves from it. And I totally get it. Like the average person doesn't need fucking social media. Like you don't need to tell people I'm on vacation, come fucking rob me. Like or I'm on vacation, look what I did. Like it's just a highlight reel. It's not reality, you know. No one ever posts on Instagram like, "Oh, I had a tough time at work today," or like, "Oh, I'm so fucking bored," or like whatever. No one does that, and the only people that do that are the people looking for attention. So anyway, that's just my piece about that. I just felt like I had to say that.
no, but yeah, I agree with you. If someone's stupid enough to do that, they should have their home insurance policy canceled. You shouldn't be posting online that you're away. That's making yourself a target to get robbed. And you should have your home insurance policy canceled for doing something that's stupid because you're just a moron. You're an absolute moron and you're a character for doing something like that. But yeah, social media, it's a huge problem in today's society. You see these people, they're wasting their whole day away on social media. They're not getting jobs. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And their finger keeps going up. They're getting scoliosis of their finger because they keep scrolling so much, and it's a never ending loop of scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. The only reason you should have social media is if you have a business and you're advertising something and you need the social media page to basically get a lower customer acquisition cost to sell your product. You shouldn't have social media to keep in touch with your friends and do this and that. If you have friends, you should basically have a direct contact to them, and you don't need a social media platform to connect with them. All of this, like, oh, we need to stay connected, stay connected, stay connected. And Facebook's mission, if you don't have their number, or you basically you don't see them that often, then you should be disconnected from them. You should basically swift away. You don't need to stay connected with somebody that you met 55 years ago, and you're basically 70 years old. This interconnected world, it's unnecessary.
Yeah, and even if you look at that, I love that you said that. Even if you look at like actual like science behind this, right? Or like psychology, like human psychology. I love human psychology and science in general. I mean, I'm sure that everyone knows that by this point. But even if you take it a step further and you look at like there's a theorem, and it's not a theorem, but it's like a psychological concept, I guess is a better way to put it. And it's basically this thing. It's called Dunbar's number, and it's like the number of relationships that you can actively maintain before hitting a point of like diminishing return and essentially spreading yourself too thin. And Dunbar's number is 120. So if you look at like Facebook or Twitter or not really Snapchat, but it's really like Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, like most people have more than 120 people on there. So it's like this whole weird thing where it's like you don't really know everyone you're connected to, so why are you bothering? You know? And I'm totally with you. Anyone you don't talk to on a regular basis or somewhat regular basis, like there's no reason to have them on any social media. There's no reason to have any sort of, you know, ancillary method of like contact. Like there's literally no point at all. it just seems so foolish that people go out of their way to do that, like to connect with people, old classmates or whatever. You know, it's nice to see every once in a while. You're like, oh, I used to know someone. I wonder what they're up to, and then you see they're doing it right. You know, but you know what I like? I like when you do that and that happens. But like you run into someone at the store, or like you run into someone, you know, at the park, and I don't need you on Facebook. I don't need you on Twitter. I don't need you on Instagram. Like, I hope you're doing well and I hope everything's going good. But it's like, I don't care that much about it that I want it in my face every day, you know, or I don't want it in my face however often I'm on these platforms. And that's the same thing with these fucking NFTs. These people, they buy the Bored Apes, right? The Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs, and then they just put it in your face and they just boop. It's everyone's Twitter picture now, right? It's everyone's Instagram thing. All the celebrities, right? It's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know if you saw Seth Green. He was going to do that Bored Ape Yacht Club show. Did you see this? And his
Yeah, I heard he got
his yacht got jacked. Yeah, they took his fucking Bored Ape. They hacked his shit and they took it, right?
and now they don't even know if they're able to release the show because he doesn't have the intellectual property rights. It basically it's owned by the hacker at this point. So I don't know what they're gonna do with that show.
Yeah, it's crazy. So someone hacked him and they got control of the IP and he already made the show and he was going to release it and now he can't release it because he doesn't own the IP. So someone waited until he made the show. I guess they got tipped off and then they fucking hacked him and stole it so now he can't put the show out because they own the IP.
Yeah, exactly. It also sounds like in this kind of demented kind of way, it sounds like a good marketing technique to basically get your NFT stolen right before the
Oh,
release of the show.
100%. Send it to a fucking burner wallet. Oh, it was hacked. It was hacked. And then you fucking send it back. And then
And
you
then
go, oh, I
eventually he gets
recovered
it back.
it.
Eventually, they come up with a
Yeah,
thing and they say, "Oh, I
magically gets it
retrieved
back.
it."
Yep. Oh, I thank you, everyone. I got it back.
Because nobody heard of this show. Nobody even heard of the show before his NFT got hacked. So it's like a great marketing technique. I never heard of it until he got his NFT hacked. I don't think anybody heard of it.
Exactly my point. Yep.
And supposedly Gary Vee was like a guest in the show. He did like some kind of voice in the show. But there was also another hack of the Bored Ape Yacht Club. They basically Discord got hacked, and an attacker got off with like $360,000 or 200 ETH worth of NFTs, and basically it was the project's community manager on the Discord. This guy Boris, he basically had his Discord account compromised, and then uh, because his account was compromised, somebody sent phishing links in the Discord, and these people clicked on the links, and they got their NFT stolen basically because they signed off. They basically clicked the link and they signed off on the signatory. They signed off that to basically transfer the NFTs to this other wallet. And this is a good lesson too, that you should when you're basically signing something in your wallet, you have to watch who you're signing, basically who you're signing to and what you're signing for. And this guy on Twitter, he put it a good way. He said, "You didn't lose your NFT because you used Discord. You lost your NFT because you signed a malicious transaction with your key. Stop blaming Discord. Stop blaming others. Stop blaming Yuga Labs, and basically get your fucking brain together and stop repeating the same mistakes." That's a good point that he made. This guy Evets.eth, very smart individual. Take
Yeah, I mean,
responsibility
he,
for your
he nailed
actions.
it. Personal responsibility. Accept culpability for you being a dumb shit and sharing your key. The first rule of crypto, if you have anything in cold storage or in personal storage, is you never share your keys with anything. Never. It doesn't matter. Some crypto companies that specialize in cold storage, they even go as far as to say, literally, when you make the fucking account, they go, even when you update it, even when you do this, never share your keys. Never, never, never. Never share your keys. Never share your seed phrase. Never share any of that shit. They tell you off the fucking rip. And they'll even put it like, if you use a cold wallet or anything like that, they'll tell you in the software that you use to access the wallet. They literally put it in front of you and put it in your face to the point where it's like it's the most ridiculous thing. It's like you gotta know. It's almost like knowing to look both ways before you cross the street. It's like it has to be so innate and so ingrained in your fucking head that you just know not to do it. Like in this sense, like not to share any of the keys or the seed phrases or anything like that. So it has to become like second nature to you. Like I use the example of crossing the street. Like what you look both ways. You're like, all right, cars aren't coming, we're good, and then you cross the street. It has to be second nature to you. Okay, don't share personal information with randoms on the internet. Got it. Got it. Got it. And the odds are, if someone's sending you a fucking Discord link and all of a sudden you magically have to put in information, I mean, what do you think is going to happen?
How about
Like,
this one?
seriously,
If
do
you're
you
not
think
sure,
the
right?
person is connected to the company where you bought the thing? No, no, because people on Discord, like, think of it like this.
Well, here's the thing,
Hugo
though. It was
Labs
under.
is not going to send you a Discord link for something you bought. Like, that's just not how it works. Like there's no company that has customer support or any type of like customer service relation where you're using fucking Discord. That's not a thing. Like that's not a multi-billion-dollar company like Hugo Labs is not
No,
going
it's
to use
actually
Discord for
they do.
customer
They do use
support.
Discord.
They do.
Yeah, most
So the
entities use
guy,
Discord. It was the
okay,
guy's
so
account. Basically, his account got compromised, and it was published like it was the individual on his account. That's why a lot. That's why a lot
why
of
are
people
they
fall for
using
it
Discord?
because a lot of NFT
That's
communities they
fucking
use
really
Discord.
dumb too. To
You
be
didn't know
honest
that?
with you, that's pretty dumb.
Most NFT
No, I
communities
don't.
use
No,
Discord.
no, you know what? You know what my rule is. I'll tell you what my rule is, and then you tell me what you think. Okay? Do you know what my rule is? Seriously, my rule, and maybe I'm crazy. My rule is I don't like groups. I'm not a group guy. I don't want anything to do with people in a group. I don't want to join your little Discord. I don't want to join your little fucking coffee clutch. I don't want to join your little fucking committee. I'm buying my good or service and I'm staying the fuck away from everyone else. And that's it. That's how I like it. Why do I need a Discord? Oh, I have a question. Oh yeah, you want a question? Read the fucking FAQs. That's it. I'm not a group guy. Don't be a group guy, and then you'll never run into that problem. You got to be a lone wolf ranger. That's what you got to be.
I mean, here's the thing, though. If you're not, if you're gonna sign off on something, click a link. You should have a wallet where you have most of your, most of your assets in, and you just never connect it to the internet. If you're not sure of a link, you should have another. Put $20 in the wallet, right? Go to whatever Uniswap, whatever exchange, get $20 in the wallet, and then click on a link, and limit your downside. If you get scammed, then they can only clean out the wallet which has $20 in it, or like 0.000 or whatever ETH.
What
You
did you
shouldn't
just
be.
talk about last time? You just mentioned, and then you nailed it last time. You mentioned something along the lines of how you could have like two people sign off for one transaction, or like five people sign off for one transaction, right?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you have that enabled?
Well, I mean,
Like, you know what
no,
I
these
mean?
people that wouldn't help in this situation because these people knowingly signed off on a transaction because they thought it was the
Mhm.
creator of Yuga Labs, so they got like
Yeah,
fooled.
that's a fair point. That is a
But
fair
the
point.
point is, you should limit your downside by basically anytime you're signing off on a transaction, you should have just the required amount to basically do the transaction, nothing more. You shouldn't be signing off on a transaction with a wallet with $500,000 in it. That doesn't make any sense. That's just basically you're asking to get scammed. You should have a wallet where you put the required amount in to basically commit the transaction, and then nothing more, so that you limit your downside of what you can get scammed for.
Yeah, I gotta be honest too. The whole Discord thing, I'm blown away that a multi-billion-dollar company was using Discord for like customer service and claims and whatever. I'm blown away by that.
Not customer
A
service.
lot of people, I know that a lot of people in that space use Discord. Discord's mostly like gamers and like coders and shit like that for the most part, and now like some crypto people, right? But I'm just blown away that like they don't have their own. infrastructure built out, because at this stage of the game, I mean, this isn't the first time Discord was like hacked, like where someone got in on like a server or whatever. There's been so many um, Discord hacks over the years that it's just getting out of hand at this point, and it really seems like that infrastructure isn't
Well,
good for anything pertaining to like personal information, or in this case, protection of like digital assets or like wealth, if you want to call it that.
yeah, but Discord wasn't hacked. It was the guy who it was the guy who basically was the owner of the platform, not
I
the owner of
I
Discord,
get
the
it.
owner of
I'm
the
just saying that I don't think people should use Discord in general for anything pertaining to stuff as sensitive as the situation we're currently
but
talking
this
about.
but this is not even really Discord's fault at all. Like a 0% Discord's fault. It's basically the owner of the owner of the basically account got compromised. So if it was on any other platform, it would have the same thing would have happened.
Right, right. But I'm just saying, as a rule of thumb, I don't think even like this. You're right. This could have happened on Facebook. This could have happened on Twitter, Instagram. Doesn't matter where it happened. Doesn't matter. But I just think that Discord really shouldn't be trusted with stuff like this, just because of how like fucked they are in the past. Like how someone got into the hacker's account could have happened on any other platform, like you said. But I don't think Discord could be trusted. In any other facet. Like I think it's very easy to like crack in there, and people seem to have figured that out. So
Well, speaking about Discord, I know you say you don't use Discord, but there's this Discord group about this guy who basically scammed a lot of people. This guy ZADEHKICKS. Have you heard of him? This guy
yeah, the
ZADEHKICKS.
guy is a total shithead, um, and he was known in the sneaker community. Um, I heard he lives out in Oregon. Um, supposedly has some ties to Nike, right? um, and he was just like a backdoor, like pre-orders guy. And this guy, from what I heard, total slime ball. He had like fake Frank Mueller watches, fake APs, fake Rolex. Like he would walk around and he'd flex on Instagram and he thought he was a big shot. It was 100,000 followers, where 80K were bought, fake accounts, of course. And this guy,
Yeah,
like, what he would do is, from what I heard, is he would basically take people's money for pre-orders, right, at a price that is lower than the retail price, and then he would use that money as like an interest-free loan, and then lend it out to people, and then collect interest in excess of the difference between the amount that you pre-ordered the shoe for, and then what he lent that person the money at. So if he lent let's say that he's selling you these sneakers at a 20% discount, that means that he's got to lend this money out at 25 or 30% to make money, right? But I think what was going on was that he was just running a Ponzi scheme to like churn, allegedly running a Ponzi scheme to like churn his revenue. So what he would do is like he would get you the sneakers you wanted, or he would cancel and give you a store credit, and he would do that and take a loss, but he had to get new money coming in to keep the Ponzi scheme going, so he could just keep boosting his revenue, and then take out loans on for the company, and then just use the loans to like line his own pocket. I think that's what was going on in all likelihood. But this guy is like really shady because he has connections, allegedly has connections to people like very high up at Nike, like pretty much like Nike royalty from what I heard. So there's like a lot of weird shit going on Twitter where people are calling him out, and there's a lot of people who had a lot of money with him. One of the biggest pre-orders I saw was someone pre-ordered, it was like some type of off whites, but they had a $1.2 million pre-order for off whites, and I'm like, bro, do you really think you're getting like 4,000 pairs of these? Like, that's not gonna happen. There weren't even 4,000 pairs made for that drop. I think there were like 2,500 or 3,000 or something, and this guy pre-ordered 4,000 fucking pairs, and I'm like, what the fuck? Then there's people out 100,000, there's people out like 70,000, but from what I heard, this guy's a total fucking slime ball. The sneaker community is in shambles because of this. And I think that this guy is going to be in big trouble because he's playing with the wrong people.
That's
This is
right.
not a community. This is not a community that, you know, when they're wrong, they get together, they hold hands and sing kumbaya. And I think it's not a community that's going to wait for the slow turning wheels of justice to move. Um, I mean, if you look at some of the people in the community, like there's been a lot of worse things that happened to people over transactions as trivial as like $200, $300. So I don't think these are the people to play with. So I think he's in a world of trouble legally and, in the court system. And I think he's, potentially in a lot of trouble in the street system too. So
I actually got scammed by this guy firsthand. This fucking guy, Michael Malexada. He got his company um taken over by the FBI. They confiscated his website. It's under a receivership right now. That's not allegedly. That is a fact. He got his company confiscated by the FBI. And yeah, he was basically running a Ponzi scheme. None of this allegedly shit. He was doing it. It is truthful, and he's basically asking to dissolve his LLC in the court of Oregon. And I think he's in a whole bunch of trouble. If he doesn't start selling off those Porsches that he has and those fucking watches,
and the
you know
McLaren, right?
he's gonna be going to jail for a long time. Fuck that McLaren. Get that McLaren out of here. He thinks he's gonna flee the country. The FBI is gonna track down his ass, and he's gonna get himself into a lot of trouble here. But this is a lesson for everybody that you should use PayPal when committing transactions. And if it gets close to the PayPal protection limit, then you should just basically go to the resolution center and submit for a refund. Don't trust anybody. Always protect yourself with payment methods, and don't let anybody scam you. But yeah, this guy,
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off that for a second. Sorry to cut you off, but I have to say this. Like I've done so many transactions on PayPal, and I've had so many disputes over the years. Like PayPal's a fucking shit, right? Like if you're a consumer and you buy something and you get fucked, like PayPal will go to fucking bat for you. It's the greatest thing ever. Usually they'll go to bat for you. Usually. So um, here's what I recommend to everyone if you hear this. When you buy something, right? You have 180 days. Write down the date that you bought the fucking thing. Fucking write it down. I don't care if you're like, this is definitely going to work. This is the best thing ever. You're fucking writing it down because I told you to do it, okay? You're going to write down today's date. Boop, boop, boop. Bing, bing, bing. You write that down. Boop. And you put it in your phone calendar. Now what you do is you create a reminder and you set the reminder for 4 months from that date or 4.5 months from that date. And now, if you're having issues with a thing, or if you're just like regularly checking up, you'll see the reminder. And when you see the reminder, you go, am I having issues with that thing still? Or is everything fine? Okay, everything's fine. Okay. Now, what you do is you put another reminder and you put it 2 weeks from 6 months. So it'll be 5 months and then 2 weeks or whatever. Now, at that point, you put another reminder and you say, okay, this is my last call or whatever. Am I having problems? Okay, I'm not having problems. Fine. Because PayPal guarantees purchase protection up to 180 days. I'll show you how to take this a step further. If you use a credit card, if you use a very high level credit card, one of the premium cards you pay an annual fee for, whether that be American Express Platinum or Chase Sapphire Reserve. One of those two are really, there's a few really good ones, but those are the two premier ones. Those are like the top, hard hitters. Those will give you purchase protection for goods and services not received up to 540 fucking days. So now what happens is you have a 2 layer of protection. You have PayPal to go to immediately and request money from if the transaction falls within 180 days. And if PayPal denies the claim, then you just go right to the credit card provider. Go right to Amex. Go right to Chase. Explain the whole thing. Hey, bought this thing. Guy never uploaded a tracking number. Boop, boop, boop. And then guess what? Now they got the Amex goons knocking down his door. Where's my money? Blah, blah, blah. Now they go after him. And that's it. That's all you do. And this is the reason why you never use a debit card. My rule of thumb is anything over $100 that is not a direct consumable. In other words, basically not food, right? Or clothing or whatever. Even clothing, you should use a credit card, honestly. But anything that's not like food related and the purchase is over and it's going to be over $100, you always use a credit card. Always, always. Unless, always. It doesn't matter. Just use it. Trust me. You're going to cover your ass and you're going to be happy because you'll have that fraud protection. You'll have that purchase protection. And what comes with that is having more people to help fight the battles and people who've been there. And maybe this is the first time you're disputing a transaction or you're charging back and you're scared and you don't really know what to do. That's what these guys are for. They're like lawyers. They're like lawyers that are sharks and they go to bat for you. And it's the best thing ever because you just submit the claim, explain what happened, submit your proof, and then you go like this and you let them get to work and that's it. And they work for free because they don't want to lose your business. Because if they lose your business, they're missing out on thousands or tens of thousands or possibly hundreds of thousands in revenue, in future revenue. So you got to remember that you got to take advantage of that and you got to be smart and cover your ass. CYA, that's the phrase of the day, cover your ass.
Yeah, here's the thing too, right? They're gonna fight for you because the credit card is the bank's money. If you use a debit card, that's your money. They don't care about if you lose your money. They're there to protect themselves and their money. And another thing that needs to be said is, if you know, you got to trust your gut in whenever you're doing a business transaction or something. If your gut is telling you that it's something's too good to be true, or then it most likely is too good to be true. You know, you can't go against your gut. You know, humans have evolved throughout the centuries, and this gut feeling, it's an evolutionary process to basically prevent somebody from getting themselves into danger or basically protect themselves. So like your gut never go against your gut is usually like 100% correct. And if you look at like these Discord servers, right, there was this guy on YouTube. He added up all the people that showed receipts in the Discord server. He added up all the money that was lost, and there was $25 million lost in the Discord server alone. Now that doesn't even count the people that didn't join the Discord server that didn't mention how much they lost in Discord server. So it's at least $25 million. Then you have to look at all of these store owners, because these consignment shops, they were basically ordering through him to get inventory, and you know they're not gonna put out their business online that they were ordering from him, because it's gonna ruin their brain. It's gonna ruin their reputation. It's going to make themselves not look good. It's going to make themselves look like they're idiots and morons, that they're unprofessional, that they're not good business people, that they don't know what the hell they're doing, that you know they can't be a steward of your capital and basically deliver your product. And so they're not going to put that out there. And you know, I think this is probably $100 million plus Ponzi scheme here. And you know, I think we're going to see this evolve in the coming months. And you know, I think this guy has to at least get 12 to 15 years in jail, unless he basically has the money somewhere and he promises to refund the money to customers to basically make everyone whole. I think you know the FBI will basically offer this guy a deal if he refunds some people and he makes people whole in this transaction. That's going to be basically a deciding factor of how long this guy goes to jail, is if he's willing to basically refund people's money and make them whole.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that he's in a world of trouble regardless of how you look at it. And on that same, you know, line of thought, just with scams, a lot of scams going on lately. It's kind of gross, right? So our good friend, you know, Doquan, remember him with Luna?
Oh yeah,
So
stablecoin.
Luna, yes, Doquan, or as I like to call him, Dumbquan. I'm copywriting that right now. If you hear this, Dumbquan, I created it. Just know that. You can be like, Dumbquan, that's a fucking dope name. I'm Dumbquan, okay? No, I'm not Dumbquan. Doquan is Dumbquan. But anyway, so Dumbquan, he, you know, that Terra was, you know, Terra Luna, right? The whole thing collapsed and it was this whole fucking shit show. There was a surgeon that lost $500,000 in his life savings. A surgeon, 500,000, unbelievable, right? Don't put your life savings in an algorithmic stable coin. You know, come on. Like you said before, they don't last, and none of them have ever worked. Follow the trend. The trend is your friend, as they say, right? So Dumbquan and his goon of idiots sat around, fiddling around, trying to figure out a way to, I don't know, resuscitate Terra Luna, right? So they couldn't figure out a way. So you'll never believe what they did. So the original Terra Luna, if you look at the price of it right now, it's still less than a cent. It will never go beyond that, right? But they did a hard fork and they made Terra Luna 2.0. And some of these crypto exchanges actually had the balls to add this bullshit on their exchanges, and it shot up to $30 a coin, right? And now it's down to like 6 or like 5. So it shot up like a rocket and then immediately dropped 80% in less than a week. So it looks like Dumb Quan is pulling the same old Ponzi bullshit that he did with Terra Luna. And now he's just doing it as, oh, Terra Luna 2.0. And you know what the funniest thing is? I think that the 2.0 is still an algorithmic stablecoin. So don't be surprised if someone pulls a George Soros style attack on 2.0 and sinks that one too, just to fuck this guy over again.
Well, it's
So
not
it's
that they have
such
the
a
ball.
joke.
Not that they have the balls to list on their platform. It's they have a financial incentive to list on their platform. You look at Binance; they invested $300 million in Terra Luna, so they're trying to basically recoup some of the investment that they put into the coin. So they're just scamming their customers at that point. And at that point, you have to look at the integrity of the platform. And if you basically are buying from a platform that has no integrity like that, then there's something wrong with you. You should take your money off of Binance. They're total scumbags, and they're willing to basically scam their customers for the benefit of themselves and recouping the $300 million that they invested. And they even promoted Terra Luna, religiously throughout this time, saying, "Oh, it's a safe investment, it's stable, it's this and that." And they screwed their whole customer base. And I think they got a lot of explaining to do on how they scam their customers, and they don't appreciate their customers, and they should go out of fucking business. Binance, my ass. I'm gonna call them right bias because they're the fucking scummiest company in the world.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I can't fucking stand those clowns at Binance. A lot of people like that guy CZ. He seems like a decent guy, but I don't know. Something about that platform from day one just like fucking rubbed me the wrong way. Like really. Um, there's like 2 or 3 platforms I fuck with, and that's it. I don't really fuck with anything else. Stick to the big dogs. And Binance is a big dog, but again, they don't want to meet the criteria. Like they don't want to. They want to deal with this 100-to-1 leverage fuck shit, or like I don't know, a lot of this shady shit, or like coins that are kind of like crap. Like honest crap is an understatement. Coins that are shit. It's just like I can't fuck with that. I don't know. Something about it just screams like shady, and it just screams that that person who's in charge of listing some of these really shit projects on there clearly has like equity, or like they're getting something out of it, like an under the table type of deal, or something that's just not known to the public. There's a lot of shadiness going on in the world, and oh man, it doesn't seem to be getting better. But hopefully we'll get better, and we'll see some brighter days coming up, right?
Well, we know where Binance operates, right? China.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. You're right. As the Brits say, you're right. You're right. And on that note, thanks again for hanging out. It's been another episode of the Anonymous Investors Podcast. I am Ston Command, joined as always by Almighty, All Powerful, All Knowing Jesus Christ, oh Lordy.
The lesson of the week is right. Protect your capital.
CYA,
Protect your capital.
CYA, CYP,
Right. Protect your capital as you protect your life.
CYA, CYP. Cover your ass. Cover your profits.
Oh, I thought I was going to say cover your penis.
Well, that too. That's pretty important. All right. Peace out.